in my Lexus NX review, I speak about, how people come to me and ask me questions about what vehicle to buy. They want something efficient, quiet, comfortable, and, well, not an EV. And as I mentioned in the NX video review, more often than not, I send them over to Toyota and Lexus because they essentially have all of the current, I want to say responsible, but not necessarily, but intelligent answers. And quite possibly, for the very vast majority of us, the best answer to that question is this. This is the 2022 Toyota Venza, the second generation of its name. And this Venza, this vehicle, this SUV is probably one of the most underappreciated, most looked over, that's it, SUV in the midsize segment for very obvious reasons, at least to me. There's something extraordinarily unexciting about the Venza. It's the way it's been prepared and planned for sales is incredibly simple. There's only one powertrain, 3 trims, a few colors, no options. To me, that's absolute brilliance. But somehow, still today, in a world where we want to make choices for ourselves and, all that, the Venza gets overlooked. Well, we can't overlook the fact that you can't exactly go over to your Toyota dealership right now, knock on the door and say, I'd like to leave with a Venza, please, because you're going to have to wait a while for one of them. Well, just like a Sienna and any other hybrid product, or plug-in hybrid product for that matter, over at Toyota and Lexus. The thing with the Venza is that, and I just mentioned it, it is so simple, so complete as a product. It is so Toyota that it hurts, and at the same time, it's so unlike most other Toyota vehicles. I mean, just from your vantage point, it doesn't really look like a Toyota, right? Compared to a RAV4 or a Tacoma or a Corolla or all that, it's very different. And I can't quite figure out if that's an advantage or a disadvantage to the Toyota Venza. Anyhow, look, this is another, well, not easy one, but this thing is brilliant. I loved it when I first drove it, almost 2 years ago, over a year and a half ago, and I still do, because it does everything right. Anyhow, in the following video, we do the walk around, then we go for a drive, and I'll essentially prove to you that it's the easiest choice to make, I think, in the mid-size 5-seater SUV segment. So visually, what I'm trying to say is that this second generation Venza, which was introduced for the 2021 model year, first generation, by the way, was offered between 2009 and 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So this second generation Venza really has nothing in common or nearly with the current generations of Toyota products. As if I focus and squint, on the headlights, I think I see maybe a dash of Supra, maybe the last generation Celica too. I don't know. Maybe it's a lack of oxygen or something. I don't know. But look, this is like the 10th or 11th time that I walk around the Venza, and it really has nothing Toyota about it. It's almost not Japanese. There's almost a hint of German in the way it's styled. And I'm still baffled. As in, I'm wondering if this is an advantage or a disadvantage to the Venza. Anyhow, pricing is $33,240 in the US for the base LE, $40,730 for the top trim limited. In Canada, LE starts at $39,000, $39,150. That's a massive difference. And the top trim limited is $48,550. So as you may have spotted, this is in fact a top trim limited. The middle trim is the XLE. and it's really smack in the middle with just a few differences spec-wise. In the base Venza, you do get all-wheel drive hybrid, so that's all included. 18-inch wheels, 8-inch touchscreen display, a power hatch, heated seats, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius satellite radio. It's very, very well kitted out. If you skip all the way up to the limited, well, you get a 12.3-inch display, touchscreen, heated steering wheel, which is also included in the XLE. So the XLE is really like your middle go-to ground. Rear power passenger seat, heads-up display, these 19-inch wheels, which are also offered on the XLE. And it's got, I guess the big thing is the Stargaze fixed panoramic glass roof, which for all intents and purposes is kind of whatever. I don't care for it. It really doesn't bring anything to the table, and you do have to pay extra for it. Let's just do the quick tour. So, as mentioned, the power hatch is standard. Yes, it is. I'm not kidding. There you go. Not exactly the fastest hatch, but it works out well enough, which reveals 816 liters of trunk space, which is decent. What's nice maybe for most is that there's a reasonably high lift over, so you'll never really have to bend over to go all the way to the end. Look at the finish on the inside of this thing. It's really, really nice. And this is Lexus-like. There isn't exactly any storage here under there, but I mean, this is more than enough to put a couple of golf bags across, if that's the type of activity you're into. If you have a small family, such as mine, plenty of room. Seat backs recline. The handles are just up here. I don't think that focused right there. You go. So there's tons of room for the kids. They're quite happy. There isn't any room for another passenger between the two baby seats, but look, otherwise it's quite nice. You get a good shot of the door card. I mean, I always use this as an indication because it's one of the first things you touch or look at when you open the door of a new vehicle, and it's very, very plain, which I have to say is, it's not that it's disappointing, but that probably says more about who this vehicle is for, as also the materials are really nice. I mean, this is, look, I can pinch the faux leather here. It's very, very soft, and the fit and finish is beautiful. Again, the nice touches, very luxurious. Seats, so a 4-way power lumbar is included with the limited. They're very nice, comfortable, supportive, good bolstering. Let's slide on aboard. And this is where this isn't like most other Toyotas. So you can see like the center console is so much cleaner, so much, I don't know, everything is very smooth. Like in the current generation Camry, there's like a wedge across, there's some triangular stuff going on and different surfaces and materials. This is far more concise. That's your 12.3-inch display, which is very nice. It does stick out a lot from the center console, but it doesn't really hamper visibility. I mean, from my vantage point, it's still just below the windshield line, which is important. I mean, if I was to complain, these buttons, or the lack thereof, I mean, maybe a volume knob would have been nice, but I mean, it still works quite well, as you might expect. Storage is okay. This is kind of strange, like the start-stop button. It looks like a pod that was added as an afterthought. Where were we supposed to put that? Oh, I forgot. Oh, you know what? We'll just slam it in the hole there. Drive modes. Right there, your EV mode and your drive modes. Storage, as I mentioned, is kind of okay, but not that great. These are kind of old school heated and cooled seat buttons. The dashboard itself is quite nice. I mean, I really can't complain. There's substance to it. It's luxurious. And visibility also happens to be quite nice. I mean, I kind of just gave you a little bit of an idea as your heads-up display. This is the winning part for like that, 90-degree turn around a cement median. It's just a really nice place, and it's really nice to drive. So let's go do that now. Given the times that we're living in right now, In other words, ridiculously high fuel prices. Driving this is probably what's, well, the most interesting. I mean, once everybody and all your stuff is fitted on board, even I have to admit that this is refreshing. As I mentioned, hybrid is standard with the Venza. So that's a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine with the Toyota's hybrid synergy drive and an eCVT with an electric motor. And because it's all-wheel drive, it's got an electric motor on the rear axle as well. So total combined system output is 219 horsepower. And well, you get 219 horsepower worth of, well, power. From a standstill, admittedly, though, it does move quite well. I mean, the instant torque from the electric motor is just, well, it's instant, so you feel like you're moving really, really fast. A good thing, though, about the eCVT is that the sound insulating properties of the way the Venza was built with all the materials on the inside and all that keeps everything very, very quiet. Now, if even the average eCVT, say in a Sienna, can be on occasion a little bit unpleasant as it drones and holds engine speeds, it's never really an issue in the Venza because it's so quiet in here. And that's a huge bonus for this vehicle anyway. All-wheel drive traction will be absolutely good, fine, and perfectly adequate for winter driving. I mean, having driven a Highlander or a RAV4 hybrid, we know that the electric motor in the rear will deliver just, I mean, it can get up to 80% of drive power. So essentially, you won't get 100% of the electric motor's power at the rear wheels, but if only the rear wheels can pull you out, you can get up to 80% to, pull or push you out of your stuckness. English, me speak good. But the advantages just keep going. I mean, I almost automatically went into eco drive mode. So I showed you the switch, your eco and whatever. The point is that eco still gives you access to all the power. It does dull throttle response a little bit, but when you get into the Zen-like, I closed my eyes there for a second, you didn't see it because of my sunglasses, but into that Zen-like spirit of a hybrid Toyota, it's good, it's enough, it's responsive enough. Because, you know what, the bottom line is that the Venza, this is not the bottom line, but the Venza is rated at a combined 6.1 liters per 100 kilometers, combined. I've been fluctuating between 5.8 and 6. Me. I don't do that usually. I just said I get into the mindset, and I am in that mindset. I still get the occasional need to crush the accelerator, which I willingly and I do. But I'm still averaging, I mean, obviously the drive conditions are perfect. It's like 17 or 16 degrees Celsius outside and not a cloud in the sky, so it's perfect. But even in winter, I know for a fact that these Toyota hybrids, they won't punish you by 15 or 20% fuel consumption. You might notice a 5% increase. Don't quote me on that, but that's about as bad as it's gonna get. And then finally, I suppose it's the ride quality. And it's beautiful, it's brilliant, it's cozy, cosseting, it's lovely. It's like the luxury, well, it's like a premium sedan, but, with a hatch and a few inches higher off the ground. And that's exactly what this vehicle is meant to replace. It's a premium sedan, but the point is that even with the multi-link rear suspension setup, obviously independent in the front, I mean, this thing handles nice, and the steering responds to my inputs. See, I'm going left and right. I'm exaggerating that, of course. It's nice. The steering feel is good. The brakes feel quite nice as well. It's all up to par, up to snuff. It's where you want it all to be in that balance. with the emphasis on comfort and efficiency, despite it's insanely quiet. I mean, I was pegged at max power, and it's still quiet-ish in here. No, it's quiet. It's very quiet, in fact. And it's, I mean, this is the type of vehicle that, you know, at the drop of a hat, with the kids, I would go almost anywhere. Perhaps, possibly, the trunk would be a little too small, say, compared to a Passport or something like that, but your Passport will probably consume 60 to 75% more fuel per 100 kilometers than this, with the equivalent amount of stuff on board and people. So you might have to get a box on the roof, so that wouldn't happen. I'm going all over the place as I always do. But look, I mean, if you're in the market for a mid-size SUV and you want it to be efficient, quiet, luxurious, for well under, well, with an XLE, about 45 and change, for well under 50 grand, you get all of that. There aren't really any viable alternatives to this hybrid in the segment, other than what you might find over at Toyota and Lexus. Or if you want to spend a lot more money and go into, say, a BMW, you know, plug-in hybrids, but even so. See, now I went off track there. I shouldn't have. Anyhow, the bottom line is, if you're considering, this time it's for real, a Toyota Venza, just put your name on the list and be nice to your dealership and take delivery of it as soon as you can.